Welcome to Conscious Coupling, where Frederick Gobet and Christy Whitman share their experiences of creating a conscious, connected relationship. Every week, they give practical tools, steps, and processes to help you find the loving connection with your partner. Let's get into today's conversation with Frederick and Christy.
I just don't feel appreciated.
I try and I try and I try. I can't do anything good.
Yeah. Does this sound like a regular conversation? It used to be us. It used to be us. Thank God it's not anymore.
Parts of us.
So, hi, I'm Christy Whitman.
And I'm Frederick Gobet.
Welcome to the Conscious Connected Coupling Podcast. And today we're actually talking about what is your preferred love preference? What is your preferred love language? You know, there's a wonderful book and actually a quiz that we both recommend when we do our coupling work with other couples, that you go online and there's an amazing author. His name is Gary Chapman, and he has many books, and one of the books is the 5 Love Languages. And you can go online and just go to 5 Love Language Test or quiz.com. You just look it up on Google, and you can do your own test. And what we recommend is that you do it as a couple. Each person does it individually, and then you share it with your partner. And here's why. Because as Gary talks about, there are 5 different ways that we can give and also receive love. And the interesting thing is that we don't, in a couple, give and receive love in the same way. And even in the ways, so he talks about words of affirmation, which is, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for all that you do with the kids and taking them to soccer.
You look so beautiful in that pink shirt. Not red, right?
More.
Your hair is so amazing. I love the way you did your hair this morning. Right?
No, those are words of affirmation. Hey, thanks for doing the dishes. I really appreciate that. And, you know, sending a text message, I love you. I mean, there are words of affirmation. That's one way that we receive and give love. Now, that's not for everybody, but what this quiz does is it tells you what are the 5 priorities, because you have words of wisdom, acts of service, so that might be he changed the light bulb in the house, or he did the dishes, or he took out the garbage, or I cooked him dinner, right? So there's words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So these are the 5 ways that we give or receive love. Now, in each of those buckets, each person can receive very differently. And when you have these conversations, when you know what the quiz is, right? For me, and it's not so much this way anymore, I know it changed, but one of my biggest ones was receiving gifts. For him, he could care less. That's like the lowest on his totem pole. I don't think I got like a 1 or 2 when you did that, right?
Yeah.
So for me to bring him a box of chocolate, or for me to bring him a book, or I don't know, something other than something that has to do with golf, he'd be like, great, you know, it's something she did for me. But it wouldn't be like, wow, she loves me. When he brings me flowers, I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Because gifts, acts of gifts, you know, that is more my love language. For him, and you can speak to this.
It's quality time and physical touch, obviously. And when I get to spend time with her, it just fills up my heart. Whatever in the first episode I had said, whenever I'm with her, working on our podcast, working on creating any type of programs, creating all our programs that we're wanting to create for the conscious connected coupling that we're doing, and even our workshop. I mean, you know, that gets me excited, and that gets me even more in love with her when I get to spend some time dating each other. It's like I love going out and at a movie together, going out somewhere, just walking around the park somewhere together.
Oh, he's happy just walking.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
For me, that's the time that I cherish. And of course, the physical touch. I love when we hold hands. I love when she puts her hand around me and on my back. So that is also yeah. There you go.
The dog's butt.
Yeah, dog spot. So those are my love languages, and it's good for her to understand. We get to understand each other as a couple together, and we get to know even more of one another. That's what we want to establish after getting into a long-term relationship. You want to know more of these intimate things that the partner wants you to do.
It's feeding the relationship, because everything is energy, right? And so you get into a relationship like this, and it's not like a college diploma, right? I went to Arizona State University, I have a diploma, it's forever mine. I don't have to put any more energy into it. It's a degree that just sits there, and I get to use it for credibility if I want to or need to. But a relationship is a living, breathing thing.
Always evolving.
Always evolving. It can expand or it can contract. And if you're feeding it what the language of love is that your partner can receive, like I said, he could care less about gifts. If I'm showering him with gifts all day, every day, he's not able to receive it. So we have to do things in our relationship that, even though my language of giving and receiving might be different, we need to be aware of what it is for the partner, so that I'm speaking the language that he can receive, so he understands that I love him. And these discussions, I really recommend taking the quiz, because then you get to know what's important to your partner. And you might find that some of the things are very similar. It might be spending quality time, but your lives are so crazy busy. Maybe you have kids, you're traveling, you're building businesses, you're doing all the things, but just taking 5 minutes to just connect and go for a walk around the block. Doing something that is quality time with each other, because that's both of your love language, that feeds the relationship. You want to think that everything is energy. And when you're feeding the relationship with good, positive love energy, it not only fills you up, but it makes you feel good. And there's just more of this beautiful energy exchange. So something very simple, like both of us like to receive words of affirmation. Now, there's many different ways that you could do that. You could give a card. You could send a text. He was telling me one time when I went out of town, I had put a note in the refrigerator and said that I loved him. I don't remember what it said. I don't know if you remember. But that he said that really touched him, because it's a word of affirmation. Leaving a note on the pillow, doing something where it's like, whether it's just, babe, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for all that you did today with taking care of the kids.
Right. It's an acknowledgement of the love that we have for each other. I mean, it's worth taking the time in order to do that, and particularly in times where we're not feeling too good, or there's something happening, there's an issue that is deep inside concerning someone. I mean, for someone who does not have the physical touch, for example, as a high love language, and that person is into its own issues, and then to come to that person and touch him, you might have a reaction of, oh, don't touch me, and all of a sudden it'd be like, why are you acting that way? So
why are you pulling away
from me?
Why are you pulling
away from me? And knowing that, okay, well, the physical touch is not really one of his love languages, so that's not how I'm going to connect with him or her in that way when there's an issue that pops up. So I think that also is important to know, because in these times, it's great to understand each other at that level when there's something underneath that is bothering someone.
Or even perfect, that's a great example. But another example is like, I could be, say, overwhelmed. I've got a lot of stuff to do with the kids. Maybe they've got reports, extra homework they have. I'm teaching classes. I'm doing all this kind of stuff. And for him to say, hey, I've got dinner tonight, that's like an act of service. Right? And it's like, that's his way of showing love, not just to me, but also the kids. And for him to be able to prepare that, taking that off my plate, or one of the things that I need to do, that's like, thank you, right? And then the way we keep exchanging it back is, touching him, because touch is important, but also saying to him, thank you so much for that amazing dinner. I really appreciate you doing that and feeding the kids and taking care of that so I didn't have to tonight. I really appreciate you.
Right.
And then, it's like, it's an exchange back and forth.
You know what I'm thinking about? It's like it almost takes us out of the roles, right?
It does, yeah.
Of the, oh, I've got a parent now and be with the kids while she works, for example. So I have to take care of them, I have to feed them, I have to, and knowing that if I prepare something, for example, some food for the boys, I'll make sure that, you know, she has something, you have something as well. And I know that, you know, you'll be grateful for having that. And so I don't get into the role of parenting only, and
or that man doesn't make cook the food, right? Woman has to cook the food. Like the old paradigms of what woman should be, what man should be. We're in a day and age where it's like it's very different, and more women are starting businesses. I mean, I started my business 12 years ago with complete and absolute support from Frederick. I wouldn't have been able to do what I do, especially in our relationship and the ways that he stepped up and taken care of the kids. We don't have traditional roles in our family. And when we fight against those roles, you know, that's what makes it difficult. So the love language, it's just one of the tools. It's not our tool, it's Gary Chapman's tool, but we find that it's such an important thing just as a baseline to understand your partner and really what he or she needs. Like, how can you truly express how you feel? And a lot of times we think, well, I'm just gonna express it in this way. But we have to stop and think, will my partner receive it in this way? And how will my partner receive it? So be willing to do the things that your partner will receive in a way so that you're feeding. You know, the way to think about it is everything is energy, truly. And that when you're feeding the relationship good, positive thoughts, that's important because, again, every relationship starts inside of you, whether it's your relationship with your mother-in-law. I've completely transformed my relationship with my mother-in-law by starting inside of myself first, with your kids, with your significant partner. Every relationship, and when you're having nasty, naughty thoughts inside of, well, naughty thoughts are sometimes good, but nasty thoughts of he's not this, or she's not this, or she's not enough, or he's not enough, those energetic sparks go out and it feeds the relationship, or it deteriorates the relationship. And when you deliberately think about and put in words of affirmation in your own mind about, oh, he's so wonderful. Like, this is an internal work you can do, not just even expressing it to him, but I so appreciate Frederick for his kind heart and the way he is so present with our children and the way that he shows up for me and how he's always supportive. I mean, just saying these things in my own mind, I'm feeding our relationship with a good positive energy that starts inside of me, and he will feel that. Your partner always feels the energy, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. On some level, you have an inner being that always feels it. On some level, you will. And so it's really important to be mindful. When am I feeding the relationship today? Am I feeding it junk and gunk, or am I feeding it high vibrational love and support and things like that?
And one thing that's important too is that she's looking at the positive aspect instead of looking at the negative aspect. And I think that's what causes initially what we had said. I try, I do what I can do. And nothing.
It's never enough.
It's never enough,
Yeah.
and she doesn't appreciate it. And I think that some men feel that way. Not all of men, but some men feel that way because of the fact that, you know, they don't feel appreciated. They don't feel like there's positive that comes back to them for the things that they are doing. Now, doesn't mean also what we're saying about, you know, trying to understand the love language, that you should change yourself completely and just figure out, you know, the way that you should communicate is through only love language. No, we're not saying to kind of not speak from what goes on inside of you, but we're saying to be able once in a while to be able to see that positive aspect, that one thing that he has done for you or she has done. Again, the cooking of the food, right? The paying of the bills, the getting up on time in the morning and making sure that everybody is ready. So all of these aspects, and the more the positive aspects will be in place, the more they'll be noticed and appreciated by everyone too.
Absolutely. So you're feeding your relationship all day, every day. So you just have to ask yourself, what am I feeding it with? And that all starts inside of you. And I love that you said that, because I want to just address that. It's not saying, oh, he needs this, so let me just give him everything he needs. It's being able to come from yourself and say what you prefer and come from the I, which is our next podcast next week, is we're going to be talking about I language versus you language. This is key in any kind of relationship. And really being able to be connected to yourself and be willing to realize where you might have hurts and resentments. Hurts and resentments are like scorpions and snakes in a relationship. I mean, they're just biting. And when you feel that inside, what comes out, because you can only give what you feel inside. When you feel love and you feel appreciation, that's what's going to extend out from you. But if you're feeling resentment, if you're feeling anger, if you're feeling frustration, or you're feeling the hurts and past resentments of the longevity of your relationship, those are like, psh, it's going to come out like a scorpion sting and, you know, a little snake bite. And we just want to be mindful of that, because we all have to start. Again, I said it, and I'll say it again. For all relationships start inside of us. It's all energy. And hurts and resentments can be released. There can be forgiveness. We'll bring in the counsel in another episode to even do a healing on that. That's some of the stuff that we do in our day workshops, our weekend workshops with couples, even our online events. We always bring in that entity of the counsel, because in order to change anything, you have to release the stuff of the past that's holding you back. That is the, you know, the angers, the frustrations, all of those things, and be able to be willing to push the reset button. And one of the ways, it's just one tool. We're going to share so many different tools. It's not like we do all of our work around Gary Chapman. We don't. It's just one aspect of where, as a baseline, it's just good to understand, how does your partner receive love? What's most important to your partner? Is it quality time together, spending time together? Is it having a physical touch? I mean, when I put my feet up on him when we're watching TV and he, you know, massages my feet, it's like, oh man, I'm in just complete heaven. Just that, even for 5 minutes, is like, oh, he loves me, right? It's that feeling of, oh, I'm loved, right? And when you can feel that in your relationship, you're coming from a space of abundance instead of a space of lack. And we'll talk about that too, the difference between lack and abundance, and what you feel inside, what we've all been conditioned with. But when you're coming from that space of, he loves me and I love him, and we're a team together. He's not against me. He's not wanting to hurt me. He's not wanting to be, you know, opposing me. He's not wanting to be the bad guy. We'll talk about the drama triangle too. He wants to be in love with me, and he is in love with me.
I want to make her feel safe around me, and I think that's very instinctive, right? We from the times where, you know, old times, I guess I'll say, I mean, man wants to make sure that, you know, she's protected, she's provided for, and I feel good when I know that she feels in a safe place with me.
And the feelings, though, are up to me to feel safe, right?
Yeah.
He can provide that, but it's my choice as to whether he can't make me feel safe. I have to choose to feel safe or not.
Exactly.
And I can only feel safe inside of myself if I release the stuff of the past, because there were things in our relationship where I didn't feel safe. And unless I forgave and released those past things of the way he used to be, because he's not the same today, you know, I'd be still looking at him the way he used to be, and I wouldn't feel safe. And so that choice of being safe and trusting and having faith, again, is inside of me, right? And so then that even elevates the relationship too, to be able to have the forgiveness and the release of the things of the past, so that he can set up what he wants to ensure that I feel safe. But it's ultimately up to me to choose that safety, to choose to feel protected, to choose to feel provided for in a way that I feel comfortable with.
And I guess we'll take a look at that, those underlying issues. There's things that create, you know, that stress or that conflict, actually, that can arise from whatever is within that causes that tension.
But for today, what we want you to do is go online to the 5 love languages, take the quiz. There's actually apology language, which we're going to talk about, not from Gary Chapman's work, but how to apologize, what's your fighting style. We're going to talk about that on your podcast. What are some other options for how to get your voice across? There's an anger assessment. How angry are you with your partner? We can help you with releasing that anger. But for today, go online, do the 5 love language quiz for yourself, just to know what is your love language, and ask your partner to do it too.
Well, yeah,
and then
sure.
and then so that both know. And so, you may not watch, say he is not watching the podcast. Maybe she's not watching the podcast, and you want her or him to do it. Say it because I want to learn how to love you more. I want to learn how to provide that love to you. And that person, your partner, will be like, okay, it doesn't take very long. It's simple questions. It's not anything you have to really think about. It's more like, would you rather receive a gift or a compliment? I mean, it's that easy, right? So go take it together, communicate what that is, and then do one thing for your partner today and every day. Be mindful of, thank you, baby, for being here with me. I love you so much. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Words of affirmation, or a gift of service, or a physical touch, or what's the other ones? Quality time. See? Quality time. Yeah. And receiving gifts. So what is your love language? Go check it out, and we will be back next podcast where we will talk about I instead of you.
See you soon.
Thanks for listening to Conscious Coupling with Frederick Gobet and Christy Whitman. If you like our show and want to know more, check out ChristyWhitman.com. And please leave us a review on iTunes. Learn how to turn your partner into your soulmate. Join us again next week for another powerful episode.